Hey everybody, this is Nicholas and welcome back to another video on the JAMSI Online YouTube channel. This is part 2 in the series of this 455 Oldsmobile rebuild that we did back in November of 2019. So back when we had this engine in the shop, I actually planned on doing a pretty complete series of all of the machine work, all of the rebuild, and as you saw, the teardown from my previous video that's uploaded on the YouTube channel, but it just never ended up happening. We got really busy, and I'm just now getting back to trying to get some of the footage together for a video because I had some people asking, where's part 2? And unfortunately, it's been long enough that I actually lost some of the footage, and I don't remember exactly everything that we did, but I'm going to do my best to throw this together and get you guys a little bit of a video showing everything we did, but there will be some parts missing. So the first thing we did was obviously go through the heads. So we had started by going ahead and replacing all of the valve guides in these heads, and right here in the video I'm actually trimming them down back to the correct guide height on the top. And after that's done, we actually hone the valve guides to the correct clearance using our diamond valve guide hone. And you have to put a little bit of honing oil in them. This isn't the best setup, but it does work decently well for us, even though it's my least favorite part of the entire process. Once all of the guides were honed to the correct clearance, I went ahead and cut the new seat counterbores for our replacement exhaust seats because we were upgrading these to a harder seat to withstand the unleaded fuels that we have today. And once the counterbores are cut, we go ahead and drive in our new seats. And I did this kind of slowly here, but you'll see me take the air after it's almost down all the way, and I kind of blow out underneath it just to make sure we don't have anything between the new seat and the old casting before finally tapping that the rest of the way into place. So I didn't get very much footage of this, but the next thing we did was cut the intake seats. So since we didn't put any new intake seats in, these are just actually cutting the old ones and making sure that you have a nice clean seat concentric to the new valve guide. And then we went through and cut our exhaust seats as well. And we did a little bit of blending in the bowls so that the new seat would blend with the basically the port of the cylinder head, but I didn't get very much footage of that. So next I moved on to reconditioning the connecting rods, which here I'm showing grinding the connecting rod as well as grinding the connecting rod cap. And on the connecting rod, we put a little bit of an angle on it so that when you torque the rod back together, it pulls in the side of the rod so that you can hone it back to the correct OEM size. And here's actually cutting the cap. So we just take a small amount of material off so that when you bolt that cap back together to the rod, your hole is actually a little bit smaller than it originally was. And then we can put it on our Sun & pin hone and actually hone the rod back out to the OEM correct bore size. So unfortunately, I lost all of the footage of the work that we did on the block itself, but we did bore the block oversize and honed it to the finished bore size, as well as surfacing the deck surfaces of the block to get them squared up again. And so basically right here, I'm just doing that final wash on the block, final rinse, and making sure that we've got this thing really clean before we start to reassemble it. Moving on to the reassembly, I missed my footage of getting the cam bearings in, but then we got it up on the stand and started putting in all of the freeze plugs and getting ready for our final assembly. So now when I'm installing the camshaft here, I'm being sure to give it a really liberal coating of the driven engine assembly grease that we use. It's super critical on these flat tappet cams that you use a high zinc assembly grease, and critical to use a really good break-in oil, or you will have trouble with these camshafts. The oils that are available today just are not set up well for flat tappet camshafts, so it's really critical to use a high zinc formula such as a driven break-in oil or even the Maxima break-in oil, and that'll really help you make sure that your camshaft breaks in correctly and you don't have any issues there when you start your engine. Next, we went through and got the crankshaft installed and torqued the main caps down. And next we were ready for our pistons and connecting rods, so I went over and actually mounted the pistons on the connecting rods, which I hadn't done yet. Basically, the process for that, since these are press fit pins, we heat up the small end of the connecting rod, and that expands it just enough that we can slide that pin into place, and when it cools down, you achieve that interference fit. Then I went through and installed all of our piston rings. So then we went through, installed our timing chain, and finally got the pistons installed. So we did raise the compression a little bit. These aren't super crazy high performance parts. It did have a little bit of a cam, and like I said, some higher compression pistons than what we took out of it, but it was just kind of a mild rebuild, looking for a good street motor. So here I'm torquing down all of the connecting rod bolts. And then I put the bag on it. Must have been time to go home for the night. And when we got there the next morning, got the oil pump and the pickup screen on. Okay, so there I actually put the timing cover on. I don't know why I said earlier. And here we put the water pump on. There's the balancer. And here we're getting ready to put the oil pan on and button up the bottom end. So once we got it rolled over, we were ready to put the heads on and start working on the top end. And for whatever reason, I lost a bunch of the footage again, so you'll see once I get the heads on, we kind of jump and we have all of the lifters, push rods, rocker arms, everything fully assembled, which I'm not sure why I lost some of the footage, I guess. We did go with an Edelbrock Performer intake on this, and we also put some nice Edelbrock chrome valve covers on it. Like I said, I lost some of the footage, so I'm really sorry, but it's kind of gonna jump to the end here where we have it painted, and we were able to find some original Olds 455, kind of this metallic paint, and this thing looked really, really pretty when it was done. A crazy transformation from what it looked like when it first came into our shop in the previous video to when we were finished and were able to get our customer out the door. Like I said, this wasn't a crazy high performance build. We were just trying to get this thing kind of woken back up and brought back to life after it had sat for who knows how many years. So That's kind of what it looked like, and I'm sorry that I lost some of the footage, but I'm going to be working really hard on our YouTube channel in the coming months, so hopefully the videos will get better as I learn, and we'll be able to do some cool stuff and show you guys what we're doing along the way. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, drop a comment if you're interested, and we'll see you next time.